Good afternoon. We're going to call the Joint Justice and Public Safety Government Ops Committee to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 is a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Carabelli, supported by Drollet. Is there any discussion on today's agenda? Please vote on your iPads. The agenda is adopted 13-0. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, one for the Justice and Public Safety Committee for March 14th and one for Gov Ops for March 15th. Is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes? Moved by Sauger, supported by Drollet. Any discussion on the minutes? Please vote on your iPads. The minutes are unanimously approved. Item number 5 is public participation. Are there any members from the public who wish to address the committee? Seeing none, we'll close public participation and move to item number 6, which is the department recommendations. Item 6A is a budget amendment to the Sheriff's Office for the Medical Marijuana Operation and Oversight Grant of 2018. This did not come to us within the 5 days, but I had reviewed it. The Sheriff's Department indicated that there was not a rush, but because there's no county match dollars and because it's ready, I thought I would put it on. If there's any objections to doing that, let me know. Moved by Brown, support by Duge. Is there any objection to it not being within the 5-day period? Captain Daniels.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Macomb County Sheriff's Office has secured a grant offered by the State of Michigan License Affairs for a medical marijuana grant. The amount that we were approved to receive this year is $284,827. The Sheriff's Office, Macomb County Sheriff's Office, is responsible for law enforcement in the county of Macomb, as you know that. It also requires us, as part of the grant, is to act as a fiduciary and to afford the other departments in the state and the county the opportunity to participate in this grant, which we have done. There are 8 different agencies that are involved in this grant. If you look at your packet, the breakdowns are listed there. The Clinton Township Police Department, the County of Macomb Enforcement Team, Roseville Police Department, the Shelby Township Police Department, St. Clair Shores Police Department, Sterling Heights, and the Warren Police Departments will all be members and will all receive funding from this Michigan Medical Marijuana Grant for this year. As you know, if you're familiar, this is the 3rd year of the grant that we've participated in. The purpose of the medical marijuana grant is to allow for the oversight, and what we find over the last 3 years is the enforcement, oversight, and also, frankly, the compliance calls that we get from our local jurisdictions. When we get a phone call from somebody, hey, I think they're growing marijuana out here. We go out generally, if these folks are licensed properly, we usually can do a knock and talk, which means we don't need to secure a search warrant. They'll let us in. We'll see that they're within compliance of the law, and then generally we'll let the complainants know. But that's some of the things that we do as part of this grant. Like I said, the Sheriff's Office does act as the fiduciary. The grant cycle for this year is 8.5 months, and I'm open for any questions.
Chair Smith.
Thank you, Captain. I just have a quick question. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I see Clinton Township is half of the amount for almost all of the other ones. I'm just wondering if there's a reason behind that amount being half of the other.
Actually, from my Lieutenant Budzinowski is here with me as the applicant. I think they were one of the last folks that came in to apply for the grant. That's what I'm getting from Lieutenant Budzinowski. So.
We tried to divide it up equally, and they jumped in the last minute. And of course, we're going to offer what we had left in that grant goes available.
Okay.
So we know, just as a matter of rule, the grant itself, overall, so if one jurisdiction doesn't use all of their money, the grant cycle or the grant total can be spread out as well. So if we have the ability to make an amendment to the budget, I mean to the grant itself, but generally There's milestone dates where we don't want to have to do that because the state of Michigan doesn't want to receive continued amendments to the grant.
Sure.
But it is possible.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're welcome, sir.
Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you. First, you said twice as much. Did you mean half as much?
Half as much.
Okay, okay. So you are required to notify all the cities and townships of this grant, and these were the ones that responded?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
What we did was we reached out to all of the police chiefs, but these are the agencies that have narcotics teams.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Sauger?
Yeah, is this a one-year shot, or is this over a period of years?
It's a one-year annual renewal. So
Okay.
every year we have to apply for the grants.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other speakers? And Captain Daniels, there is no county match on that, is that correct?
No, ma'am, there's not.
There's a motion and support to move this to the Finance Department, or Finance Committee. Please vote on your iPads.
All right. I'm gonna have to talk to him
All right, just tell them we're gonna move money from us and give it to them.
after. Yes.
The item passes 12-0. 6B is another budget amendment from the Sheriff's and Community Corrections. It's the 2016 Edward Byrn Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. Captain Daniels?
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The Sheriff's Office in Macomb County Community Corrections, my partner here, Barb Caskey from Community Corrections, is here to speak with you about this grant. We were awarded this JAG grant for 2016 and 2017. The City of Warren is actually the fiduciary for this grant. Because we're accepting funds from this grant, we have to, at standard funding, and ask for a budget amendment. The reason why the purpose for the grant for itself, for the Sheriff's Office, is we will be using funds from this grant to supply a redaction software for our body camera and dash cam project that we have currently. We're also going to use a portion of this funding for software that serves as our redaction for our body camera project. Acceptance of this grants will provide, like I said, funding for computers and modems and software programs for us. Also for community corrections, they'll use the funds to support defendants' monitors on pretrial services will be determined by the needs of assessment completed by pretrial specialists, including drug testing and treatment services. The grant is fully funded by the DOJ, Department of Justice, and the total grant amounts for the two separate years were $25,976 for 2016, which will be split evenly with both us and the community corrections. And the 2017 grant amount will be $23,840, again split evenly between Macomb Community Corrections and ourselves. One of the questions you may have is, the grant is for the 16th and the 17th year. Warren being the fiduciary of the grant, we were notified third quarter of 2017 that they had received funding for the 16th cycle year. We have it's a 3-year grant cycle, so we have 3 years to spend this money. We weren't notified until the third quarter of 17 that they had received 16's money. Otherwise, we'd have probably already spent this money. As part of your packet, you can see that we have signed contracts for 16 and 17 by the county exec's office. There's also an MOU that exists between the county and Warren Police Department that outlines the specifics of the grant cycle.
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know. Barb, do you have anything to add before we start taking questions?
No, it's probably fair to comment on Warren's behalf that they did have 3 different administrators within the police department within that amount of time that delayed them receiving and notifying us of those dollars. So, but again, for community corrections, it's pretrial, mostly for drug testing and electronic monitoring services. So that's exactly what was said and put in the grant for us.
Okay. First, let me take, is there a motion first? Moved by Carabelli, supported by Sauger. Is there any discussion on this item? I don't see any speakers on my list. Do you have any questions about the memorandum? Okay. Please vote on your iPad. Unanimously passes 12-0. The item will be forwarded to Finance.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the Justice and Public Safety Chair portion of the agenda.
Thanks, Commissioner Toko. We'll go on to the government operations portions of the agenda. Item number 7 is appointment interviews, friend of the court advisory committee. Dawn Marie Prokopec, you can come on and step up here.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good, may I address?
Absolutely.
I'm Thomas Blum, the Director of the Friend of the Court. The Friend of the Court has a Citizens Advisory Committee that's very active, is very supportive of our office, and has also been very helpful to help us move forward with some things that we want to move forward with. Dawn is recommended to fill the position on that committee of the attorney that primarily practices in family law. I know Dawn. Our office knows Dawn through her practice with Macomb County. She is very well respected by all of her colleagues, and certainly well respected by the attorneys in our office as well. And it is my pleasure to endorse her as a member of this committee, and I look forward to working with her on our Citizens Advisory Committee.
Dawn, did you want to say anything before we start taking questions?
I can give everyone a brief background of myself if everyone would like that.
Please.
I have been an attorney for going on 14 years now. I have practiced almost exclusively family law, although I did do some city attorney work up until last year. I am currently the incoming president for the Macomb County Bar Association. I'm a past president of the Macomb County Bar Foundation. I've chaired the Family Law Committee, either chaired or co-chaired for the past 5 to 6 years. I practice primarily in Macomb County, but I do practice in other counties as well. And I welcome this opportunity to be able to assist the county.
Okay, I have a question. What do you think that you can offer to the friend of the court with your legal experience?
Well, I think from my perspective, I understand how our friend of the court works. Because I practice in other counties, I also see how other friend of the court systems work, how they don't work, how our system could be better. I get the perspective from the attorney perspective, but I also get the perspective of being a party or a litigant because I know how my clients feel from the process. And I think I can offer some assistance also with pro per litigants that don't have an attorney, because I certainly have talked to people that have been unrepresented and may have a completely different perspective on how the friend of the court operates.
Interesting. Okay, any questions for Dawn, commissioners? Any questions at all? Yes. Commissioner Romano?
Excuse my ignorance. What exactly do you do?
I'm a divorce attorney.
I'm sorry, your committee. What exactly does your committee do,
Oh, the
I should
committee.
say?
I can answer that.
Please.
They advise a friend of the court as an advisory only in terms of our office operations and things that we can improve upon in our dealings with litigants and the population of Macomb County in divorce actions. Well, you know what the friend of the court is. Right. What we do, they meet 6 times a year. I have to statutorily answer grievances when people have grievance against office operations or employees. This committee will review a random sample of those grievances 6 times a year, and I will appear before them. They'll ask questions about why I responded the way I did and what I could do better, et cetera. And they've actually, they've offered some really good suggestions in the areas of customer service, because a lot of the grievances I get are the result of people complaining about rude treatment. And because of that, I've changed the way I respond to some of those grievances. It doesn't hurt to have somebody that is going to look at them, because, quite frankly, you do look at them differently yourself and you answer them differently. So it's all good. This has been a very helpful thing to the friend of the court. It's not mandatory. It is something that I wanted to pursue and push forward, because it does give us that extra layer of protection to the litigants out there that sometimes need it.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. That's all I have.
Commissioner Toko?
Thank you. Is this a seat that is it an added seat or is it a vacant seat?
It was vacated by Renee Teagle, who was hired by the county
Okay.
for probate court.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, seeing no other questions, and Dawn, this is for a 3-year term, and the appointment will be made at the April 25th full board meeting. So thank you for coming here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Go on to item B, Macomb County Art Institute Authority, executive appointment with board concurrence, 2 vacancy, 3-year terms. First, we have Jennifer Callans. Jennifer here today. Come on up, Jennifer. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, commissioners and staff. Thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Callans. I have a PhD in anthropology and have my research has been on the arts as a means of representing community identity. I have actually been a member of the Macomb County Art Authority since its founding in August of 2012. Actually, before 2012. August of 2012 is when the agreement with the DIA went into place. I remain active in the arts community, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? I have one, and I guess this would be for both you and for Jean Kilda. So the millage would be, well, I'll just take it one at a time. So the millage is going to be coming up. What are you guys making any recommendation, or does that come from?
That's not our role.
Nothing to do with you then.
Our role is actually to negotiate the contract. If there is a successful millage, then we negotiate the contract with the Detroit Institute of Arts, and then we oversee the implementation of that contract. So we make sure that the appropriate monies are being spent, for example, on school outreach or on senior services or things like that.
Okay.
So we're the ones who oversee how the money is spent, make sure it's spent according to the agreement.
Okay, money that's what you guys do, Macomb County Arts Authority.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that? Like, give me an example or two.
So, for example, the
mind?
millage typically results in a little over $4 million from Macomb County
Right.
going to the Detroit Institute of Arts. We have an agreement with the DIA that demonstrates what percentage of funds should be spent on what types of services. So we want to make sure that a certain amount of dollars are spent on buses that enable school field trips to visit the DIA at no cost to the school, because admission is free, therefore the bus is free, kids bring their own lunches, the entire experience is free. So we monitor, we first set the parameters for the spending, and then we monitor that the funds are spent accordingly.
Okay. Do you have any idea how much that comes down to dollar-wise with all the things you've looked at? I mean,
I was going to say, DIA does a fabulous job in providing reports, so what we
Right.
could do is forward those reports.
okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, there are two reports. There's the audited financials, which I'm sure you're all familiar with and are probably less interesting than the programmatic audit, which is really what shows how much money is being spent on what type of service.
And
Yeah.
one final question, if I may. So have you noticed that we've had a big increase of more DIE-related projects and things and outreach over
Yes.
the last couple of years? It seems like it's been
huge,
happening
yes.
a lot the last couple of years than the previous 8 years or something
Yes,
ago.
absolutely, yes. I'd
So-
say over the last 2 to 3 years in particular, there's been a significant increase in outreach into Macomb County. So the DIA Away, the big truck that visits local fairs and things
Right.
like that. Also a lot of new partnerships. So an
Right.
expansion of the partnership with the Anton Art Center, with Macomb Community College, but partnerships with other agencies in Macomb County that enable more citizens to use the resources.
Wonderful. You have a
And one
question
other
there?
thing that the board does, our board, Macomb County, is appoint. They receive applications for 2 of the DIA Macomb County representatives for the actual DIA board. And our representatives for Macomb County is Lillian DeMoss and Donald Rietzenheim. And they are selected by this the Art Authority Board. That's the second role, too.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Commissioner Brown, you have a question?
Thank you. The money that the DA allocates for Macomb County, how much of that is attributed to marketing? I mean, I just see that, I still see that, I see a lot of activities occasionally going on, but quite frankly, I discover them quite by accident. But, I mean, what aggressive outreaches are going on to the communities?
That's an interesting observation, and I will say that the monies that they receive from Macomb County don't directly go to marketing. They use their own budgetary dollars for that, and instead they focus the monies on the actual programmatic activities. So, for example, with schools, with senior groups, with teachers, that sort of thing. But that's certainly something we can discuss with them about how to do more aggressive marketing efforts in Macomb County.
Because
We also, the board actually worked on a report that shows where, what school districts have been utilizing the services of the DIA and the bus system, so we know that areas that we need to focus on going forward to make sure that they're connected into the.
I mean, the partnerships with parks and recreation programs, I mean, every community, My North End's got a Parks and Rec. Every community in this county's got a Parks and Rec department. You could tie in. Some of them have buses, and I mean down in Warren, they got a big bus service that they can partner there, and they can increase their visits from Macomb County astronomically, because we saw from the last report that the number of visits from Macomb County weren't where we hoped they would be by their own admission. So, and part of that's just not getting out to the public in all the forms, and newspapers are one way, but they're not, that's, you know, but new media is all the other. And
a lot of, we also go to our board members that we select on the board for that connection into our community as well, and they do a
well, they need to have
fabulous
I'd like
job.
to see a plan.
Pardon me?
I'd like to see a plan to has, you know, so anyway, but I'm glad it's great. I mean, I'm a big supporter of the DIA, and I just want it to be successful, and I don't want the next time to come around and say we wish you'd have done more outreach next time there's a vote.
These are absolutely conversations we have when we meet with the DIA. The DIA always sends an appropriate complement of staff to our meetings, usually 3 or 4 senior level staff members, and we talk about where are the gaps, where are we not reaching the saturation that we want to reach. The bottom line, though, is that you know, yes, we give them $4 million in tax dollars a year, but they're still a nonprofit that is somewhat strapped for staff, right? So on the staffing side, we throw a lot of ideas their way, and in a perfect world, they would be able to implement all of them, but that's not always possible. So it's definitely an iterative kind of work in progress situation where we're trying to figure out ideas that they can implement effectively that can increase the outreach and increase attendance numbers for Macomb.
And one other thing, I think that Macomb County has a great partner at the DIA now with Dave Flynn. Dave Flynn has that connection right here, and that's a new position that they added on. I think that's very beneficial for Macomb County government. So,
I met with
and
Dave
our
in
community.
Salvador down there in Detroit a couple months ago, and expressed similar issues, you know, so I want to express some to you since you're here. So
thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Commissioner Brown. I have next on the list Commissioner Carabelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On that note, last time Salvador and Dave were here, they were going to afford us the opportunity to see the numbers. They were going to bring those back because we didn't have firm numbers that they were compiling for us. On that note, they did clarify that Macomb County's program with the youth is the largest one in the entire taxed area, where the children from this county program is by far better than any of the other counties. So I don't want to rock that boat too much. Let's keep that going in the right direction. And on that note, the only thing I would like to share with the DIA that's very important is, you know, the collaboration with the other opportunities that are down there. SEMCOG had an event down at the Detroit Historical Museum. Okay. It's free to get inside there. You don't have to pay. You have the DIA. And I don't understand why that there isn't some, they don't get with the, what's the group we're paying all the money to for the alcohol, the travel, what's it called, the convention bureau, did not take this and put this together, because when I went down with SEMCOG and seen it, I went down the following weekend and brought other people. You got to see this, and took them in this area. It's like, you don't have to go to Chicago to do this, but you don't know it's there. And I haven't been to the Detroit Historical Museum since I was in elementary school. I went down there and I was so impressed on this. It was like, how great for SEMCOG to have their party over there. How great is it? And it's all walking distance. It's all right there. And it's, it befuddles me how that these entities cannot get together and let us know that there's all this to do with our tax dollars.
But I said it's a secret. It's still a secret.
It
we
is,
have to get it
yes.
out there. We got to push it
Yes.
out. It's not that hard. Social media is out there. We push that stuff out there. I just don't understand what the delay is.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Drollet? I don't see your names in the list. It's not working, so. Go ahead, Commissioner Drollet, go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks for being willing to serve on the board and reappointment. A couple commissioners have referenced getting some numbers about where the kids are coming from, going to the museum and so forth. And this is probably not your role, I don't think.
Probably not, but
Probably
go ahead
not,
and
but
ask.
I guess
Let's
the question, I probably should direct it to Dave or you know, somebody who's works for the IA, but maybe you could convey it as, I'd like a breakdown of those people who, from Macomb County, that visit the art museum. How many of them are visiting as part of a school group?
Okay.
And how many are visiting as individuals or on their own accord, so to speak?
Yeah.
Because we just get one number, and I don't know if, is that all
I'm
kids
sure-
being bussed in? Is that
I'm sure
people-
they could break that down for us. We actually have a meeting of the Art Authority next week.
Oh, great.
And then, and typically it has been the role of the Art Authority chair to, I think, kind of liaise with this body or with the full Board of Commissioners. And so we'll be electing a new chair, I believe, at next week's meeting. So I'll make sure to bring that request to the DIA so that the chair can then report to you all.
Thank you.
I think the election happens
After?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So at some point.
At some point's
we will
good
have a chair
All right.
who can
Thank you very
report.
much.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you. Back when we went through where we were upset because the guy that had already left as the director got a bonus, I'm sure you remember that. When we met with board members at the DIA, they said that they would not in the future need to seek a millage renewal on their millage. So I just want to verify, you
As
do
far as-
know for sure they will be seeking
We do
it?
not, no. The last time that Salvador Cellar Pons visited the Arts Authority and reported on that, he still said that they did not have an intention of seeking a renewal. in the
Okay,
millage.
so that's where it stands right
That's where
now.
it stands right now.
And when would that be up?
That would be up in '22 because it took
Okay.
effect in August of '22. So it would go, or sorry, August of '12, it was a 10-year millage, so.
Okay, I didn't know if it changed from the conversation. Thank you.
Not as far as I know.
Chair Smith?
Hi. Just briefly, thank you for coming, attending today. Talking to the point of Commissioner Carabelli and Commissioner Brown, I don't know, it does seem like a lot of places, like the DIA and the zoo and, you know, all SEMCOG, they, in some respects, work in like a vacuum and they don't overlap. I'm just wondering, do you guys ever have meetings with like the zoo authority or anything like that? Because I know there's some weird like competition or I don't
There
know
is
exactly
absolutely
what it is, but-
competition. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I would say it's weird because you got to consider
No,
these
I
are, you know,
But-
agencies that are effectively.
But we as, you know, as
Yeah.
community members in Macomb County that support both,
Yeah.
would love to see a little more of this. And I'm sure
Yeah.
there's probably some of you that would love to see that too. And maybe it is a SEMCOG issue that, you know, to take on to try to foster something like that. That being said, Don, I want to point out though that you had mentioned that you know, we got to get that information out there. It's easy. Well, I'm going to tell you, for 7 years, I've been on this board and realizing how much the county offers that we can't even get out to the public. It is tough to get information out.
I think I would just qualify and say it's easy to get it out there. It doesn't mean that anybody's reading it,
Well,
right? That's
It's-
the thing.
It's hard to get it to the people that you want to get it to, whether it's senior services or veteran services or economic development opportunities. They do so much and offer so much, and you're like, man, I mean, maybe 10% of the population, and that might be high, know about all of these services, where probably 70% of them could utilize at least one of them. So, I mean, I appreciate the efforts. I just wish we could get more, like Jim's saying, you get down at this historical, Detroit Historic Museum, and, you know, to have with your presence and the zoo's
Yeah.
presence, and everybody's kind of in similar areas. I mean, I know it might be a dream to
Yeah.
all get along like that. But
I won't go on, but speaking as an anthropologist who has an interest in these sorts of things, I actually kind of long for the days when there was a daily newspaper that everybody read, right? That was it. That was where everybody got their information from and everybody knew what was going on. There's a lot of information out there and not everybody's paying attention to the same sources. So it's very hard for a message to get traction and kind of rise above. There are still numerous people who don't realize that as a Macomb County resident, they have free admission to the DIA. And we have talked with the DIA about so many different ways to do outreach, and they've pursued a lot of them. But the bottom line is there's just a lot of competition for people's attention. And you're right, there's a lot going on right here in our own backyards. I'm a parent, and I remember when my kids were little, I was like, wow, I don't even really have to leave the Mount Clemens area to find something to do with my kids every single weekend, you know? So why go further? But I do take them further, so, you know.
No other questions for Jennifer Callans, so thank you for coming here today. And appointment will be taking place April 25th, full board meeting.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Next is Jean Kilda. Hello. Hi there, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for allowing me to be here. My name's Jean Kilda. I have been a lifelong Macomb County resident. I have been on the Utica Community Schools Board of Education for 20 years. I have been on their school foundation for that long as well. I am actively involved in the local and statewide and national school board member communities, and I have been an advocate for the arts in Utica Community Schools since before I was on the board. So it would be a privilege for me if I were accepted to work on behalf of the board to do an outreach into the schools and to their families. I currently am, yes.
And if I can ask you, what role, obviously you have a connection with Utica Community Schools. Can you tell us the relationship between the DIA and Utica Community Schools?
Utica Community Schools has been working with the DIA, and they've helped with the curriculum development over the years, and they currently set group levels, grade levels to the DIA, and they would like to expand that as well. But you know, over time with budget constraints and that kind of thing, making things happen. They don't always happen overnight, but they're looking to expand it, I believe, to the 11th and 5th grade for the DIA to participate for every student in 3rd, 5th, and 11th grade to be able to participate in the DIA experience through a curriculum that has been developed with the DIA and Utica Community Schools.
Very interesting. Speakers, I have Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I just want to apologize for the commotion. We were having technical difficulties over here. We were trying to work out, so we didn't mean to interrupt
That's
you.
okay.
I apologize.
No
and I'd just like to thank both of you for the time that you put in. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other questions? I have one that I forgot to ask you. What can we do to get kids from other school districts in Macomb County? You're Utica, so we have a lot of school districts.
Exactly.
How can we get
I've
all
already
those?
Right.
What's that? Okay.
Being actively involved in the Macomb County School Board Association, the Michigan County School Board Association, I've made a lot of connections through the years with other boards, with other superintendents, and other people in other school districts. And we meet monthly after this, and we are able to talk about things and make things happen. And sometimes I find out that sometimes it's the person you know who's able to move the agenda rather than going, you know, it's who you know to make that happen. And so I have been fortunate enough to been around school board people and superintendents and staffs for a very long time. So I'm hoping to be able to use that influence.
Very good. Okay, seeing no other questions, thank you for coming here. And again, the appointment will be April 25th, full board meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming here today. Thanks, Pam. Next is presentation by SEMCOG update, Kathleen Lomako and Amy Mangus. Hello.
Thank you.
How you guys doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good to see you.
We always enjoy the opportunity to come out and talk to our members, and we're here today to share a little bit about our organization, to present some highlights of our recent planning activities, and most importantly, to talk about our efforts to implement the plans in Macomb County. With that, I want to share with you that we're celebrating 50 years and of the region's local governments working together, and we're presenting each of our member units a decorative tile acknowledging your membership. So I'm hoping that you guys will find a prominent place to display it in recognition of your membership of working with other local governments in Southeast Michigan. So I don't know who I should give that to, or should I leave it here? Oh, so is it on the screen? Okay, great. What's on the screen is a picture of Little Caesars Arena from one of our aerial photography, and the reason we're showing that is that we're having our annual meeting recognizing our 50-year anniversary on June 28th at Little Caesars Arena, and while not all of you are delegates or alternates, I want you to know that you're all welcome, and we'd love to see you at that event. You can read more about that event or any of our activities in a bi-weekly newsletter that you all should receive, and it's entitled Regional Update. Briefly, here's a map showing our members. As an organization, our members are cities, counties, villages, townships, community colleges, and intermediate school districts in Southeast Michigan. And in the case of Macomb County, you're an active member, as well as a number of local communities, as well as the Macomb County Community College and the intermediate school district. The local governments participate in SEMCOG, and as a part of that, they pay membership dues, and they appoint representatives to represent you. And in the case of Macomb County, because you're a large county in the region, you've got 4 representatives, and you're represented by County Executive Hackle, Commissioner Leonetti, Commissioner Carabelli, and the Sheriff Wickersham. You've also got, each of the delegates have an alternate that serve, and the alternates from your county are Commissioner Myjack, Commissioner Kraft, Marilyn Lang, and John Paul Ray. So while these are the people that we have more regular correspondence with and send agendas for meetings, we want you all to know that you're always welcome to participate because your membership is organizational. And so we encourage you to come to meetings that if you see something of interest to you. Also to let you know that feel free to contact our staff for data or information. And the way you can find out about that is through that regional newsletter I mentioned. You're also all welcome to consider joining a task force or committee if there's an issue area that you're interested in. Generally, we do call for participants on our committees and task forces through our regional newsletter, and we often have to also try to recruit members if we don't get volunteers. An example of a task force that's dealing with an issue area right now is our Parks and Recreation Task Force. We've recently launched that group, and they're going to benchmark the system, develop policies, and look at ways that we can implement our planning work. And we've got a number of representatives from the county serving on that task force, from planning and from the health department. Speaking of parks, one of the things we recently launched was a new mobile app, which is called Park Finder. It includes information on 2,600 parks in the region. And not only does it have information on the parks, but the various information on what are the attributes of the park. So shown on this screen is the pullout from the Freedom Hill Park. It's available for free at the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and it's a case where we needed this information for planning purposes, but we wanted to be able to share it with the residents of Southeast Michigan who are looking for parks and recreation opportunities. Policy direction as SEMCOG occurs at the regional level through participation in our governance as well as task forces and committee, but we understand that implementation requires actions by local governments, and the kind of issues we work with deal with transportation, the environment, and economic development. Our work is all based on a foundation of good data, and while much of this data is available on our website, I want you all to know that you have access to the people compiling the data, and so I want to encourage you to feel free to contact our information services officer, who's shown here on the screen, Stephanie Taylor, because she can provide you with information and sometimes help you find the information that is on our website that you may not be able to locate. Our newest data is our 2045 forecast. We need long-range forecast data to make plans for particularly long-lasting investments like infrastructure, and so this information is the foundation for that work, but it also is used by many in the public and private sector as they make decisions. And forecast numbers are available at the regional level and at the community level, and even at a finer level of detail. I provided each of you a copy of the summary of the forecast for the county, but shown here is an interactive map where you can zoom in and see some additional detail. So if you were interested in, for example, the specifics of your district, you can do that. You can also pull out custom profiles of picking communities, so you can look at your district in greater detail that way as well. Much of our data, as I said, is on our website, and one of the most popular features is our interactive mapping tool, which allows you to zoom in to specific locations. And some of the areas where you can do that are things like employment density shown here, traffic volumes, commuting patterns, both those that are coming into your community on a daily basis or those that are where people in your community are commuting to. And all of this data allows you to look at a very fine level. And so I want to encourage you, we use it at a regional level, but I want to encourage and make you aware that you can use it at a local level as well. With that, Amy Mangus, SEMCOG's Deputy Executive Director, is going to share with you some of our planning activities. Amy?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here today. I'm going to start with transportation, and at SEMCOG, one of the things we develop is the region's long-range transportation plan, and part of that is looking at an investment of $1 billion a year and how to prioritize that investment, whether it's roads, transit, walking, biking, freight. And we work really closely with the Macomb County Departments of Roads, for example, to share data. They're partners with us when we share and analyze condition, volume, data to be able to make this plan work. This is a pie chart that just shows for the year 2017 the distribution of the funds in Macomb County at over $169 million and how it's broken down. So you can see that the majority of the funds go for what we call pavement preservation or resurfacing and reconstruction of the roadway, but it also is broken down into transit, safety, pedestrian, and bicycle, for example.
Can I stop you for 1 second there?
Yes.
The 61.3% road preservation, can you elaborate a little bit more what that encompasses, exactly how does that work, who's getting the money? We talked minutes ago, Department of Roads, City of Sterling Heights, City of Warren.
Right, that's all of those put together. So one example of a project would be M59 Reconstruct, which was, I'm looking up the number, $72 million as a part of it. So the in Macomb County and all the counties have a committee that gets together and talks about what the road priorities are.
Right.
So the federal transportation dollars comes into the county for the county roads, but also the county owns the township roads. So they work on projects within the county.
So SEMCOG is a pathway. The federal dollars come through SEMCOG, and from SEMCOG to Macomb County and its local townships and cities.
Right. And I should have mentioned that as part of that, we have this long-range plan, but we do a 5-year transportation improvement program, or TIP. So we have 5 years of projects that come in from each of the counties in the city of Detroit that is then allocated.
Okay, and if I may, just one more question. What has been the trend of the federal dollars for roads over the last couple of years? Is it stable? You said, what, it was $70 million, I believe you said?
Our region gets $1 billion a year. Yes.
Okay. So
it's been pretty stable, right? Over the
well, let me elaborate on that. Has that been increasing, decreasing? Is that stable, trend-wise?
Yeah, I think it's pretty stable.
It's pretty stable and flat. Okay, because
but it's not enough.
It's not enough, because roads is the big issue. Everyone talks about it. Governor Snyder talked about that the federal government has to do more with the federal gas tax. Of course, they can do more with the state gas tax as well. So, okay, that's all. I just want to pick your brain on that. So, please continue.
Sure. Okay, no problem. So, in addition to the transportation plan, there's numerous other looking out long into the future that we work on. So, we've developed plans relating to traffic safety, bicycle pedestrian travel, green infrastructure, and community economic development and economic development strategy, as well as our most recent one on water resources. So I'm just going to go through a few of those really quickly. So we have a traffic safety plan for Southeast Michigan that really looks at how do we improve road safety and guide investment for safety projects. It benchmarks the traffic crashes that we have, identifies problem areas. Some of the data that we have to assist you locally is that we analyze and share the crash data in very usable forms that allow you to zoom in and look at data at an intersection level, and even actually go all the way to the UD10 or the police report forms if you want to really look at a specific area in your community. This shows our updated crash location map. It's all the crashes in the region over the last 5 years. You can sort it by all kinds of factors like the severity of the injury, if alcohol was involved, the age, the time of day that it occurred, and that information's again at the county or at the local level. One of our newer campaigns that we started last year and really we're hoping to even expand on coming this summer is a pedestrian and bicycle safety campaign called Walk, Bike, Drive Safe, and it's an educational campaign. We really think that there is a role everyone plays to increase pedestrian and bicycle safety, both for the bicyclist, the pedestrian, and also the driver. And so that's the education campaign that we're doing. Last year, we partnered with the county and a lot of the communities for your East Side bike drive at Freedom Hill, and we were able to hand out brochures, but also bike lights, wristbands, armbands, to try and make sure that residents understand the importance, especially of being visible. We also have a plan in the area, as I said, of pedestrian and bicycle safety. And the plan inventories all those facilities in our region, prioritizes the regional corridors and connections, and then we work on strategies to implement that plan. One of the things that we recently have developed, and it's on our website, is a bicycle network map. So it shows all of those different areas, whether it's separated from the roadway or along the roadway, if it has bicycle facilities on it. So for example, you can see that this shows Macomb County, including the Freedom Trail and the Macomb Orchard Trail, for example. One area that we spend a lot of time on, though, is the Iron Bell Trail, and because the Iron Bell Trail really is connecting regional priority corridors anyway, and it was an opportunity to provide funding for missing gaps in that network. And one of those is developing the Iron Bell Trail in Macomb County, and that's utilizing the trails along the Clinton River in Sterling Heights and Utica, and the River Bends Park Trail system in Shelby Township. We're currently working with the county and the cities of Warren, Centerline, and Sterling Heights to connect the trail south of 16 Mile Road. Another program that we work on that helps implement our pedestrian and bicycle travel plan is the Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP. It's administered by SEMCOG. It's a nice funding source for enhancing walking and biking facilities. Pictured here are 4 projects in Macomb County funded through the TAP program. And really, staff's available to provide technical assistance. We work really well with your planning department, too, to make sure that projects are happening and moving forward, and if there's any assistance SEMCOG can give to the communities or the county on making sure we have projects in Macomb County. So you can see here, there's some that are Mount Clemens, Sterling Heights was a bridge, and that bridge is actually part of the Iron Bell Trail, to road pathways, and then some of the streetscape and safety improvements in Roseville. We also have developed a plan for green infrastructure, or it really encompasses all of our natural areas in our region. It includes parks, wetlands, trees, all together, and talks about the importance of that network. One of the ways that we're really happy that your county used this regional data and said, all right, look at the southern part of our county. We do have pretty low tree canopy in the southern part of the county. What can we do about it? And you started the Green Macomb initiative through your planning department, and I think that's been really successful, gathering additional grant fundings to plant more trees and increase the tree canopy in the southern part of the county. We also work in the areas of economic development and have a strategy for that. We work in the area of, again, community assets and the importance that placemaking plays in economic development. Talent and innovation is another focus area, looking at educating our workforce and connecting people and jobs. And the third is business climate, and looks at expanding trade and investment and growing entrepreneurship. Our most recent plan is our water resources plan, which I think hits home really well in Macomb County. And that plan covers three main areas: the importance of blue economy, which includes the recreational element of water to our region in Macomb County, the role of how natural resources helps protect our water resources and the importance of those natural resources. And the third element is infrastructure, the importance of having good underground infrastructure in our region and coordinating that infrastructure. And I think, you know, one of the great things we've had come out of that plan and that discussions is Commissioner Carabelli raised an issue of, hey, we've got a water infrastructure project happening in DeQuinder. Shouldn't we be looking at, if they're going to be tearing up part of DeQuinder for water infrastructure, shouldn't we be looking at the roads and all of the things that need to happen at the same time? And that was an excellent find on his behalf, and we're still working on it. I mean, things take time, but we're moving in the right direction. In this instance, because, you know, DeQuinder's in the boundary between two counties, we've got, you know, a lot of different players, but I think we're moving in the right direction so that at least it's a well thought out plan and it's not one project going in and then a few years later we should have done something with the road while we were there. A couple of ways we're implementing this, other ways we're implementing this is, one is starting July 1st, this is pretty exciting, and when you talk about marketing, I think we're going to be visually mapping the region's water trails and also our land trails for those that are more interested in the land trails. And it's kind of like, think about Google Street View, but on the water. And so in Macomb County, we will be going along the shoreline of Lake St. Clair and the inlets and also the Clinton River, so that we can use that both for planning purposes, but also for people that are interested in water trails and know what is it like, what is, you know, what's it like to be able to park in that area, get my canoe or kayak in and out, and we think it'll be a really good asset for our region. I've also been working with other commissioners and implementing this plan with the importance of drinking water protection, and we have one of our regional policies dealing with the importance of source water protection at the intakes. And I've talked with Commissioner Kraft and Leonetti and Smith about how we make sure we're doing that and that we have a strong program from Lake Huron to Lake Erie, the Huron to Erie corridor, where there's 14 intakes that bring fresh water and drinking water to millions of people in Southeast Michigan. And I think that's really going to be a success story. We have received $375,000 from the state of Michigan to really reinvigorate that program, and you know, we're dedicated to making sure that happens. That doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it's actually enough money for every intake to be able to get one piece of equipment, and that piece of equipment will be able to tell the plant operators quickly if they need to shut their plant down or not, and when it's safe to open the plant back up again. And we've met with every local government along this corridor and the plant operators, and they're all dedicated to wanting to make this a go. So we're hoping that this new equipment is up and running this summer or early fall. We're still in the process of receiving the funds from the state of Michigan, but we're already moving because we want to make sure this gets in as soon as possible. The last one I want to make sure that you know about is right now, we have sent out an email that to all of our membership to let them know that there are some funds available for some planning funds. And I have talked to the planning department today to make sure they knew about it, and they did, and they're thinking through their options. But so that you know about it, we have planning funds available that help implement some of these regional plans if more specific work needs to be done. And that's in the area of traffic safety. So say you want to do more regional safety audits on a high crash intersection, or you want to expand that pedestrian and bicycle education program more in your community. Multi-community planning, if you want to do advanced trail planning or an economic development work on a certain road corridor. All of those are the types of things we're looking at for funding. And then finally, in the area of road asset management planning and developing a plan for your roadways. And that is the end for me. I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen to wrap it up. We just have a few more minutes.
The last point we want to make is that we sometimes need help from our state and federal partners, and so we've got a legislative policy platform. It's important that we work with you to make sure that our legislative priorities are aligned and that we can speak for the region. I think we have more effect when we share our positions in a common way. Some of the more recent efforts we've been focusing on are the local government finance system, support for control of invasive species. I know that invasive species is certainly an issue for this county, and funding for infrastructure. As we were talking about in the road issue, clearly there's not enough money for infrastructure, but know that we have been doing a lot of work with the state, particularly we were working on a pilot project related to the governor's 21st century infrastructure, which is designed to figure out how do we manage this infrastructure system in a coordinated way. So we've been doing, combining all the data we have on above ground infrastructure, roads, bridges, with the underground infrastructure to make sure that the issues like DeQuinder Road just don't happen because somebody raises them, the issue gets raised, but that it becomes a part of our daily operation of these infrastructure systems. I think the public expects us to know, and we're trying to make sure that we are a part of moving infrastructure issues forward. So we're working on some pieces of legislation that are going to do that as well at the state level. So in closing, I'm certainly willing to answer any questions. I want to thank you for your ongoing participation. You've been a great partner to SEMCOG. And I once again hope that you will display prominently your membership plaque.
Stay right there.
Okay.
We're going to exchange some things in a minute.
Okay.
Hang out right there for 1 minute.
Okay, so questions, Chair Smith, did you want to speak?
Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
I need to ask a few questions. Roads again, just to help me understand. So $1 billion was sent to this region. Our region, SEMCOG region, is 7 counties, and you're saying that Macomb County received a total of 70 million.
169, I think. 169 million is
out
what
of
it
that
said for
1 billion, but that's
2017.
not for roads, is it? I mean, that's what I'm confused. Is it 1 billion for all these projects, bridge, transit, safety, bike paths?
Yes.
I'm just looking at, okay.
Yep.
So I'm just looking.
Point of information, just to make it clear.
Yeah.
The dollars come down, there has to be matching dollars from the local communities and from the counties to do some of these projects. 1% has to be utilized for trails according to the federal government
I
guidelines.
see.
I mean, there's all these formulas that are in there, so you're asking a vague question.
Right.
That there's a lot more detail that
Gotcha.
goes
So the
into it.
$1 billion is not just for roads, it's for many projects.
It's for transportation.
Transportation. Thank you, thank you.
And the thing I would encourage you, if you're interested, on our website, you can look at the projects that were programmed and implemented, that you can zoom in and see. One of the things, one of our messages is clearly there isn't enough money. And I'm sure you're all hearing about the condition of the roads. We're hearing about it.
So let me ask this. So 1 billion, and Macomb County received 169 million 2017. So we received, what does that equal? That's 17% then of that. Now, one final question. I've been out there talking about a proposed ballot initiative for 1 mil, which would generate 25 million for roads, for voters to decide if voters chose that. If Macomb County voters voted for something like that, would that mean that we would get more federal dollars coming in, matching dollars?
Well, we're spending all of the federal dollars
That
that
we
are
have.
available to us.
Gotcha. So it's not like there would be more available to us, federal dollars?
Right.
Okay. All right, so with that, no other questions, I guess. Commissioner Sauger? You do? Okay.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the whole dissertation of what you said, and I'm impressed with it, but it bothers me on the northern part of Macomb, in St. Clair County, you've got a lot of white on your map, which means no membership.
Right.
It's not your fault, but what do you feel has to be done?
Well, it's people that participate in SEMCOG. One of the things is they have to understand that the issues they're dealing with cross jurisdictional boundaries. I think some of our issues resonate more with urban communities, even though we're trying to, we tried to demonstrate different ways that our work impacts everyone. The other thing is sometimes it's hard to get people thinking about coming and participating in SEMCOG because we're downtown Detroit. It's harder for the elected officials to participate.
One of the things, though, is we are having what we're calling more rural outreach. I think it's May 11th, 12th, and 13th. We're going to, I think, the city of St. Clair. We're going around the region, but probably the closest to Macomb might be the city of St. Clair. But we're trying to, bring those rural members and non-members, if they want to come as well, but together to really understand, because we see that as well, to make sure they understand the value of membership and what we can offer.
And one of the things we've found is you can all help us, that there's nothing like having a fellow elected official suggest that you join, give a testimonial of how they've benefited. In fact, we recently got the village of Ortonville in northern Oakland County. They just called and said, I want to join. We didn't reach out to them, but it was because one of their peers suggested it. So you can all help us in that regard by promoting it, and certainly reaching out to us if you talk to somebody who you think might be of interest.
We do a lot of going out and meeting with people too. So we'll go out and meet with the rural township and talk directly if they'd want to.
Well, next year on this map, if you show it, I hope there's less white.
Okay, well, I do too.
Anybody else? Don, you want to speak? Go ahead, Don. Commissioner Brown.
Briefly, Amy, it was good to see you both again. You did a good job at the Clinton River Watershed Council annual meeting, giving reports on the work you were doing in the watershed. It was a good meeting. I got a question about the drinking water monitoring network. Now the local communities, they're all interested again because someone's giving them money to run the system. They let the last thing fail because they didn't put their own money up to manage the system. Now the state stepped in and give them some more money. Are they going to be continuing to pay their own way this time, as opposed to running it in their budgets, as opposed to just waiting for someone to give them the money to do it?
Well, I think it's a complicated process, what happened the last time versus what we're doing this time. And the last time, yes, they were given very expensive, hard to utilize and maintain equipment and without a lot of input. And so they were very happy to receive it, but they didn't know how to maintain it and how to calibrate it, and so there wasn't the buy-in. This time, the way we tried to make it different was we went and met with each one of them last summer individually and the elected officials and talked about, what piece of equipment, do you want to even do this? And if you do, we'll try, but we couldn't even guarantee them we could get any funding. And they said, we don't care if you don't get any. Let's figure out what pieces of equipment we all agree on. And they were willing to go in on it. This amount of money that we were able to get was just an added benefit. As part of them receiving this equipment this time, there is going to be an agreement where it says they will maintain the equipment, calibrate the equipment. We haven't decided for how long, but for a certain period of time, so that, that doesn't happen. But I also think we've set really good groundwork so that doesn't happen this time around.
Excellent, very good. If you could send me a summary for next time, we don't talk about it now, but if you'd send me a summary of what the status of that plan, that'd be good. I'd like to look at that and see what that's at. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and your commissioners, your fellow commissioners are really active as well. It's great.
Thanks. Thanks, Commissioner Brown. So that will conclude that portion of the agenda. We're going to get a presentation proclamation by Chair Smith.
I have a question for you, too. So
Sure.
I'm going to do a little of both here.
Okay.
First, I just wanted to say thank you for coming out. And I downloaded that app, the Southeast Michigan Parks app. You were speaking then about the bike trails, and you were talking about, is there an app that you guys have, or is there an app out there for that, where you can find bike trails, say you're out?
Yeah, I mean, the water trails are on that same app.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah, and I want to say some of the bike trails are as well. But all of the biking facilities are on, not an app, but online map on our website.
Just a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
Out riding, no one's out riding without their phone, and they get to
I know, right.
intersection, they go, what is this?
Where do I go?
Really know
Right.
where I can go.
We agree. This, we kind of go in stages. We've never done an app before.
Right.
And then we always start with an online map, we just did this bike one. So yeah, I think
Okay.
that's potentially a next step if this app for parks goes well.
Great.
And we're asking all of the users of our app, if you identify something that isn't right, let us know. This is our first opportunity, but to have other people help us keep the data up to date.
Right. Well, I would say have someone like most of us on the board try to navigate through it first and see if it's user friendly, because you want it to be friendly to people like that aren't always on these apps and can't figure them out right away. I mean, they have to almost be idiot proof, at least for me. So that being said, I'll get on to the next thing. Last month, we approved a proclamation for SEMCOG for your 50th anniversary. And I'd like to present it to you today, so we'll trade a tile for a presentation or proclamation. So I'd just like to say that we're going to present it to Kathleen and Amy today. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I'd like to offer SEMCOG congratulations on 50 years of working with local governments located within Livingston, Macomb, Monroe, Oakland, St. Clair, Washington, and Wayne counties. Whew. Can you say, you guys probably have that memorized. SEMCOG offers a great number of great resources and tools to help local county governments and officials, or local governments and officials. They support planning and work to improve the region's water quality, which we just spoke of, enhance safety and efficiency of transportation, revitalize local communities, and encourage economic growth. SEMCOG helps coordinate and improve parks and recreation, green infrastructure, and economic development in the region. And as we spoke of earlier, Mr. Caramelli, a special exhibit at the Detroit Historical Museum called 50 Years, One Region shows SEMCOG's start was in 1968. I hope that's right. And the evolution throughout the half a century to today. So I'd like to congratulate SEMCOG and thank you for your service, and thank you too for your service. And I'll come up and present this to you.
Thank you.
And while he's coming down, we want to make sure that this is permanently put up in front of us.
Yes.
Everybody who walks in.
The baseball cards.
Oh, do I need something better in the background?
We need Elizabeth in the background. That's
Right.
And the Macomb County Commission.
Oh.
Photo bomb. Photo bomb.
Get in there.
Take off me under the back so
Okay, Commissioners, we do need a motion to receive and file, moved by Leonetti, supported by Romano. And please vote. Again, thank you, Kathy and Amy, for coming here today. Item number 9 is a proclamation commending Marilyn Brown. Need a motion for that. Moved by Duje, supported by Lucido. Please vote. Motion passes. Item 10, we need a motion to go into closed session. Pending litigation, moved by Brown, supported by Lucido. All vote to go into executive session. Please vote. Okay, we're back into open session. Item number 11, Department Recommendation Settlement Agreement. We need a motion for that. Moved by Duje, supported by Drollet. Please vote. Item passes. We now go into item 12, closed session with independent counsel. We need a motion to go into closed session. Moved by Leonetti, supported by Lucido. Please vote. Okay, we're going to go back now into closed session. Okay, we're back into regular session. Need a motion to go with the recommendation from Corp Counsel. We don't need any? Okay, so I guess that. No need, okay. Okay, we'll go on to item 14, new business. New business, Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, please keep an eye on your emails the next day or so. Crystal and I are working on a resolution for the Nestle MDEQ decision, and we're still finalizing the language. And if you have any questions or comments or anything before Monday, we're going to try to get it on Monday's agenda. So please contact me over the weekend, contact Crystal, maybe not over the weekend, but tomorrow or before Monday's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Commissioner Sauger?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the chairman and the staff did a great job yesterday with the group that was up here. Some of them look pretty good. They could be commissioners.
Thanks, Marv. Any other new business? Seeing no new business, anyone from the public? No one from the public. Move to adjourn. Moved by Duje, supported by Carabelli. Please vote to adjourn.